Hey guys, welcome back to the Energy to Heal podcast. My name is Laura, and I have a very special guest with me today. Not a first-time guest, she's been here before, but it's been a while. Heather, thank you for being here.
Happy to.
Okay, can you just kind of introduce yourself once again for anyone new here, who you are, and your connection to Splankna, which is pretty significant.
Okay. Sure. My name is Heather Hughes. I am the co-developer with Sarah of Splankna and the executive director of the Splankna Training Institute. I'm the one that kind of helps all the practitioners get their bearings and grow in the protocol. I live in Colorado. I got 4 kids, amazing kids that are kind of not kids anymore, 19 to 26. And I started Splankna as a client when Sarah was first learning this protocol. And it was just so life-changing for me that I kept asking Sarah, like, you have to teach other people. Like, you can't be the only one doing this. It's just too good. And then the Lord was also speaking to her. And she started teaching it and asked me to join her team. And then over time, God just sort of brought us together in developing some of the advanced or master's pieces. And so that's been really fun. But that's a whole long story, fun story, which I probably already shared in a different podcast.
And that was how many years ago?
That was when I started having kids. So that would have been I started as a client when Isaac was a baby, and he's 26 now. And then I learned it in 2004 and started helping with trainings probably in 2005 or 6. So 20 years of helping with trainings. Feels like it's my whole life. Like, it's been my whole adult life, and my children have never known anything but this. And it's fun for them. They love Splankna. All 3 of the boys have gone through the training. My daughter she doesn't really want to do Splankna as a practitioner, but she loves receiving Splankna. All of them do, actually, because it's been such a big part of their lives that they, these always fall out when I start talking.
That's all right.
They have seen so much good from it, and they always wonder, how do my friends, how do they handle all their traumas, because they don't have this kind of tool, And even Isaac and his new bride, they do Splankna on each other, which is really sweet.
Oh.
So, because she's taken the training too. And so it's really sweet. They do this almost weekly, so it's great. So that's me, my family.
Have you ever, in that whole journey, gotten to a point where you're like, I think I'm ready to be done with Splankna, or take a break from it? That's a long time to just be like, all right, let's keep going. Especially when you're working with traumas of other people and you're hearing hard story after hard story.
I think seeing the healing and seeing the people fall in love with God and see the heart of God outweighs any of the negative. So every time I sit down with someone and I'm so aware that there's no way I could figure out what's happening on my own, and I'm so dependent on God, and then I'm just like, okay, well, let's pray. Let's see what happens. And then I get to kind of just watch him work. It's amazing. Sarah always says, we're sloppy grateful, because we get to see transformation day after day, and we get to see the heart of God, and being so dependent on God in what you do. I don't think there could be anything better than that.
Yeah.
So
no, you have not thought about quitting or stepping out.
Never. No, not at all.
Well, the reason I wanted to have you on today is because I know part of your heart is parenting and kids, and you love being a mom. And a huge part of my journey, I've got 5 kids for anyone new here, is my second oldest. We took him 8 hours away to go do Splankna when he was 5 years old. He's 13 now. And we were struggling so hard with him. And he knows this story. He's given me permission to share this story, but every single day was a struggle. I remember crying when he would wake up in the morning because I would just felt like I didn't have it in me again today. And Splankna was a massive, massive, massive life change for him. But leading up to Splankna, before we tried that, I was taking parenting classes. I was reading everything I could get my hands on, because I'm like, I'm not serving him in a way that is helpful for him. Something's missing. And I learned so many things, and I have amazing parents, but I learned so many things about parenting that I just wanted to shake everyone and be like, why is nobody talking about this? What do you mean? It was so revelatory for me. And ever since then, I have been so passionate about talking to parents who are struggling, because I've been there, about just a different way of doing it, seeing their kids, responding differently. So talking about today common childhood traumas that you see in Splankna. Maybe you have an adult that's coming to you and you're working on some childhood stuff. I'd love to hear, what do you just commonly see over the past 26 years? What have you seen come up in themes? And also, if you're a parent listening and maybe you have young kids, hearing these kind of themes, my hope is that you get a different perspective of the Lord's heart, the Father heart towards you and your kids, that you can put into practice in your parenting today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm curious, your son's trauma, was it some major thing, or was it actually kind of like little things, or you don't have to give me details, but...
Yeah, and he's given me total permission to share this, but he fell down the stairs when he was 9 months old, trying to go down by himself. And he fell down the entire flight, and it created a separation anxiety because he had left my husband in the kitchen and went around a corner. And my husband didn't see it because there was a lot going on in the room. And so something in his mind was, if I would have never left my dad, if I would have just stayed by my dad, something bad wouldn't have happened. So no problem. I'll just never leave my dad ever again. Problem solved. So every time he had to leave us, even for his grandparents' house, it was a mass panic.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I figured. It was something like that. And that's kind of what I want to talk about is the traumas that we're talking about. These are not capital T traumas for the most part. These aren't like major events. These are things that you might not even think of as trauma, or you might not think that they could come up with those kind of ideas. And so we're talking about kind of like things that are simple things that you can start to shift in your own parenting that can keep those traumatic things from happening, keep the kids from believing those lies. Now, and that's the thing too, like, I don't want this podcast in any way to cause mom guilt. We have enough mom guilt generally, you know what I mean? And so we have to keep in mind that we're not listening to this to hear what we did wrong. We're listening to this to hear how we can do better and prevent our kids, be aware of what kind of lies they might believe. Because that's the whole thing. The enemy is a liar, and he's out there trying to lie to our children. So the more truth we can speak to our children, the less lies they're going to believe, right? Like, you never would dream that falling down the stairs would develop into that kind of lie. But that's the thing. The enemy is whispering in their ear, because if he can take out the little of us, he can take out the whole family. Because think about your son's trauma and how it affected you, and how it affected you with all your kids, because you were so wrapped up in trying to help him, you know? And so this is the kind of stuff that we need to be aware of, that our children are being exposed to lies from the enemy all the time. We live in a spiritual realm, and the enemy is going to lie to them, and he's going to find an opportunity to lie to them. I told this story in Upper Dogs, but when Isaac was 8 years old, he all of a sudden, like when he would get in trouble, he started saying, "I know you hate me and you think I'm stupid." And I thought at first, I was like, okay, he's just being, I don't know, he's trying to get attention, or he's being manipulative or whatever. So I kind of just ignored him. But he kept saying it for a few days, that I was like, okay, this is not okay. So I had stopped Isaac on the stairs. He was going up, had just gotten in trouble with Dad, and I was coming down, and we stopped, and I said, "Isaac, why do you keep saying that?" Because, like, there's nothing we've ever done to make him believe that. Like, if anything, we think he's a little too smart. So Isaac stopped for a minute, and he just, like, reflected, and then he goes, "I just keep hearing that." And I said, that is a lie from Satan. So we stood on the stairs that day and I said, repeat after me. Lord God, I refuse the lie that I am stupid and that mom and dad hate me. I accept the truth that it can't be stupid because I'm made in your image. Sure, there's things I can learn, but like I'm made in the image of God. And my parents love me fiercely, and so do you. And I ask you to heal my heart. So like that's, if you're a parent listening and you don't know Splankna, just practice that one little thing. Refuse the lie, accept the truth, and ask God to heal your heart. And from that point on, Isaac never said that again. And so that's what I'm talking about. Like the enemy is trying to lie to them. And so back to your question, a common trauma where the enemy really likes to lie to kids. There's two kind of ideas. There's one, expecting them to know things they couldn't possibly know. When I hear a parent say, you should have known better, I want to be like, how should they know better? Have you already told them? Because most of the time we expect them to know things that they couldn't possibly know. I know I was guilty of this. I can be kind of, I don't know. I'm just fierce in a sense. I don't know. But I it's not a good idea. And so like if you've never told your kid they can't draw on the wall or they can't draw on something, like you think they should know that, but all they see is this beautiful canvas and they have this marker in their hand and then they draw this beautiful artwork in their opinion and they show it to you with pride and beaming, and then you get instantly angry. Like, why would you do that? You should have known better. You can't draw on the walls. And that's a perfect opportunity to take a deep breath and go, wait a minute. I never told you can't draw on the walls. Like, that was my bad. I didn't explain that. And then you explain to them. And I also did a lot of parenting books. I did Growing Kids God's Way. I did Love and Logic. I can't even think of the other ones. We did Accountable Kids for a while. There's a lot of great things out there. And I kind of took pieces of everything. And so one of the things in the Growing Kids God Way is teaching them the moral reason why. And so I would explain to them, like, the moral reason why we can't draw on the wall. Like, you respect the property because you respect the adult, you respect the owner. And so we're not going to do that. And then you teach them and you know, that kind of stuff. But when we just punish them and we get angry at them, that's when they're so vulnerable for the lies, especially when what we're punishing them for doesn't make sense. Like that, because then
it's not only shame, but now they're so confused. I had a conversation with my daughter. She got in trouble at preschool and she had to sit in the timeout chair, and I talked through the whole thing and she could not figure out why she got in trouble. She had to miss recess. She had no idea. She was so, part of her trauma was, I'm so confused, I don't know what I did wrong. I'm like, oh, that breaks your heart.
Yeah, and maybe she didn't do anything wrong, but if she did do something wrong, that's a perfect opportunity to expand and help them understand what they did wrong. Isaac got in trouble in kindergarten, and his teacher told me the cutest thing. So he got in trouble. He knew he deserved to get in trouble. He was a talker. And that's the other thing. When you have this healthy relationship, when they get in trouble for something that they did wrong, they grow in respect for you because they know they can trust you to help them. So they're learning things about you, and they're learning things about God, and they're learning things about themselves. So the more consistent we can be, and we do want to discipline our kids. If we don't discipline our kids, then they get afraid. They think, oh my gosh, you represent God. And if I can control you, I can control God. And that's a scary world, right? And so they need to know that when they do something wrong, there is going to be a consequence. Because that makes them feel safe, right? Yeah. But in the story, Isaac... Go.
The big thing right now is that gentle parenting that's like all over social media. And what people think of that is like, nope, consequences, just, oh, honey, don't do that. Oh, please don't do that. As the kid's like smacking them in the face with a toy truck, you know? And that's to your point. It's like, yeah, you can give a consequence and you can do it in love. Instead of like, give me your cell phone. You are not allowed to. You can just be like, hey, you got to give me your cell phone. Like, you broke the rules. You knew what they were. You're going to have to lose some time. But I'm not screaming at you. I'm not shaming you. But I am still enforcing a consequence.
It's sort of like a legal transaction, and it doesn't have to be like, I tell my kids, your phone is a privilege, not a right. you know? Anyway, so back to that story real quick. Isaac goes up to the teacher and he goes, "I'm ready to be forgiven."
Yes, you did.
So I thought that was so cute because she was like, I didn't even know what to say to him, but he was like, he'd been sitting there in timeout at recess and he's like, "I'm ready to be forgiven."
Let's put this behind us, teacher.
Yeah. But something you just said, what did you just say? Because I wanted to expand on that. I lost.
Oh, just gentle parenting, people thinking
Oh,
it just
gentle
means
parenting, yes.
Yeah.
So, you know, Sarah and I wrote Upper Dogs together. Well, I'm writing a book called Raising Upper Dogs. And true to Upper Dogs, where we talk about the extremes, we talk about the passive Christian and the aggressive Christian, right? Anyway, that's kind of what we need to think about with parenting. The problem with gentle parenting is it goes to an extreme and it doesn't have a balance. And the problem with the authoritative parenting is it goes to an extreme, right? And so you have to find that balance of like, when do I need to try to explain and everything like that? And when do I need to like just this, you broke a rule, you know it's a rule, you're in a timeout. And that's part of the next thing that I was going to talk about, which is punishing a child for childishness versus rebellion. Okay. So if a kid is just being a kid and they don't understand, they're not being rebellious, it is very important that we notice that moment and we don't punish for that moment. That's sort of like the thing you should have known better. Like they painted on the wall, but nobody ever told them. Now, if right after that event happened, your child went and painted on the wall, then that's rebellion, right? And that's when you're like, you have been told and now you're just doing it anyway. So now there's no room for that gentle piece. There's not that you have to be harsh. I hate thinking it's anti-gentle because it's not. It's like, you knew that wasn't okay. You did it anyway. Here's your consequence. You know what I mean? And I believe in natural consequences as much as possible. Let them have the natural consequence rather than a created consequence, right? So a natural consequence to their behavior. Anyway, when a child is going through a trauma where they are being punished for being a child, something that they can't understand or know that they even did wrong, when they're being punished for something like that, they start to, and even you should have known better, they start to not believe in themselves anymore. They start to not trust themselves. They believe the lie like, I don't know right from wrong. And so what will happen is sometimes, like, especially with a parent who's really authoritative and like bringing down the laws or shaming, they start to question themselves constantly. And they say, is this okay? Did I do something wrong? Can I do that? You know? And so they'll develop this, like maybe the lie they believed is I can't trust myself and I need to verify everything I do with someone else. So you'll have this like person in your life who's constantly looking for validation, and it can be exhausting, but it's because they don't trust themselves, right? Mm-hmm. Or if you're a gentle parent, like some of the damage you could be doing is, again, they don't feel safe if they don't have the foundation of rules and consequences.
Structure. Yeah. Yeah.
And structure. And so they need to know that you are stronger than them. They really, really do. I remember, I just keep talking about Isaac. I do have other kids that are awesome. But I remember Isaac telling me, our family has studied the Enneagram, and it's really helped us as a family because we did it when we listened to some books when we were going camping a few years ago. And it's been really helpful to realize, like, my daughter is emotion dominant and like she likes to sit in her feelings, where I'm like, let's fix this, right? And so once I read that book, I realized I was doing everything wrong. I was even giving her the message like her emotions were too much without even meaning to, right?
Right.
And Isaac, I'm an 8 on the Enneagram, so I'm a challenger, and like part of your Enneagram number comes from nature, part from nurture. And I grew up in such an abusive situation, and I had to be the one to protect my siblings because nobody else would. And so I became, like, at 6 years old, I became the protector. of the family, and I became the one who fought with the mean stepdad and like make him stop abusing someone, and he would turn on me, and like, but for me and my personality, that's felt like I had to fight it. I couldn't take it. Where my brother was a peacemaker, and for him that was terrifying and like the worst thing ever to stand up to him and to say something, because it would just in his mind, if we just be quiet, it'll stop. And in my mind is, if I'm being quiet, then he's going to kill someone, you know?
Yeah. So
and
I gotta fight.
Yeah, so I have to fight. So one of the things Isaac said when he was growing up when he was an adult, we took an Enneagram class all together. And we were learning about each other's types and discussing. It was really cool. Anyway, Isaac said, Mom, when I was growing up, I knew if I came to you with anything, something would happen. Like, you were going to handle it. You know what I mean? Like, if I came to you and I said, this happened, you would be like, oh, really? Well, and he said, so like that gave him a sense of safety, right? Like, he knew Mom was going to handle it. And that's something that kids need. Not every person is like me, though. Some people, it's hard for them. It's hard for them to confront because like they're a peacemaker or something. And that's okay. I'm not saying that those parents are less valuable, but I do find that God sort of brings two parents along who can balance each other. You know, when we have a 2-parent family, when you have a 1-parent family, that's a lot harder because you have to do everything, right? But I feel like getting people in your life that you know you can trust with your children, who will speak life to them, who will make up for some of that. Like, you need a community. I don't know why I went into that. But anyway, talking about the gentle parenting, it's just a scary thing for kids if they can control God. And when we're little, that's another common trauma, is that when they're little, under the age of 8, before they have reasoning, parents represent God. So not only are they believing lies about you and about themselves, they're believing lies about God. And so this is where we frame. Just the other day, I was working with a woman whose dad had a lot of mental breakdowns and stuff like that. And one of her biggest struggles in her adult life is, can I count on God? Because she couldn't count on her dad. Things would overwhelm him and he would break down, right? Yeah. And so, again, he can't help this. But recognizing that these are significant traumas are things that we can look at and help people heal. Because even though they're not big, like, you know, oh, my dad was beating up my sister and I had to protect her, big, those little things have big consequences. The fact that dad isn't stable, you know, or if mom is critical, you know, that you've seen those memes that say when a parent yells at a kid, they don't hate their parents, they hate themselves. And that is so true, because before the age of 8, they see their parents as kind of perfect. And so if anything's bad, it's me. And yet when they see their parents not showing unconditional love, when they see their parents being too busy for them, when they see their parents being harsh and like authoritative or weak, they think, oh, so that's who God is. And that's something that we have to undo with Splankna.
Yeah, so I was going to say that when you're sitting with these people and maybe they're 40, maybe they're in their 50s, and you're going back to some childhood stuff in their session, you would see a lot of that self-doubt, not trusting God. And does something in you just be like, man, I bet I could almost predict what kind of parents you had, or not necessarily?
That's the hard part. You know, that's the hard part. You would think you could, but you can't, because you don't know what message. I feel like Satan is really crafty, and he knows which kind of lies is going to hit which kid. I have 4 kids with 4 different personalities, and one of the ones that baffles me the most is my second son. He's a 5 on the Enneagram for Enneagram fans. But I grew up in a way where I had to be independent. I had to depend only on myself, and I had to like take charge. And I grew up in constant trauma. Like I never thought about it until raising my own kids, but like they come home and the house is so peaceful and it's their safe place. And like Levi's been at college and he's like, I can't wait to come home. And like, he even sees the table and wants to cry because this is where we sit and talk. And like, it's just like this, it's a safe place. When I grew up, I had no safe place at all. Like I just had to avoid the house because you never knew what kind of mood the stepdad was going to be in and like all this stuff. Well, hold on a second. I lost my train of thought. Oh, parenting. So my son, Ethan, he's going to be 25 on Christmas. He's Christmas baby. He is like I was, but without the same trauma. Like but that's part of being a 5 too, but he's so independent. I had to constantly be like, Ethan, your needs matter. Let us help you. Like, because like he was so independent and like, it was great having an independent child, but you have to be careful because that independent child can then, if you let it go because, oh yay, one easy one out of the 4, then
isolation. It
only feeds the lie more that like my needs don't matter. Right. Yeah. And so with Ethan, I would constantly be like, Ethan, like we want to be there for you. And when Ethan was baptized, when the kids were baptized, I spent like, we were camping in Yosemite and I spent like the whole week in the mornings with God asking him for verses. And the verse that God gave me for Ethan was lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge me and I will make your path straight. And honestly, it wasn't until Ethan was really struggling with something because he can do everything. And he was it's like self-discipline. That boy has it, like always has. I've been staying up too late. I'm not. In preschool, he said, I've had enough sugar today and refused the cupcake. Like that's right. And,
I love that.
I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
That's okay. Take your time. And all these pauses we could just cut right out so fast.
That's good. What was I saying about Ethan? Where is I going with that?
Super independent, different lies for different kids.
Oh, and I was doing the lean not on you. Oh, so Ethan, it wasn't until Ethan went through a pretty significant struggle where he couldn't handle it on his own that he came to me for some Splankna. So like he was 18 before he was 18, he did Splankna very little because he just so independent, I guess. And I thought he didn't like it. He said it took too long or whatever. And then he came to me when he's 18 and he said, Mom, I need help with something. And so I remember that first day I was doing Splankna with him. I'd done Splankna, but this was like, and he said, Mom, because I kept saying, okay, we're almost there. We're almost to the end. And I was trying to hurry because I finally can work on him. I didn't want it to be a negative experience. And he said, Mom, I love Splankna. I always have. I just didn't want to deal with this back then. And I was like, okay. And then I would say, like I said, he's almost 25. Between 18 and 25, I've probably done more Splankna on him than any of the other kids.
Okay. He just was ready then.
Yeah. And part of the thing with Ethan is Ethan had a traumatic birth. I almost died. And even in that moment, he believed the lie, like emotions are too much. He thought, I was dying and my mom was holding him crying. And he thought, like the idea was like, he felt ripped away from me. The only person he's familiar with my voice. He's familiar with my smell. He's familiar with my heartbeat. He's ripped away. There's chaos. There's all this emotion. And like that very moment could be the reason he decided I can't count on anyone. I'm on my own, man. My mom's dying right here, And like God did tell me once that as we were doing Splankna on the thing that he was wanting to work on, God said, the key is his birth. And so like for Ethan, the key was the birth trauma. And it was crazy, and like he can really relate to a lot of that. He's also had other traumas, but even there, like poor dude, like it starts at your birth. But here's the cool thing. I want to say this. When you heal something that's so early in the womb or at birth, it has such a significant shift because they have always lived with that lie. They have always lived with that trauma. When you go back and you can shift something and help them get rid of a lie that they started foundationally at the very beginning of their life, and you can heal that and get them to hear the truth, it changes everything. Like, I'm like, I can't wait to meet the other side of Ethan, you know, who is now like constantly hugging me. And like, you know, one of my favorite things, and I'm saying this for all you practitioners out there that are listening, one of my favorite things ever was a few years ago on Mother's Day. The kids had decided to do like these, I did it for Valentine's Day every day. I like to take the month of February as the month of love and like do a lot of different things. And this particular year, I had put a heart on their bedroom doors every day with something I loved about them. And so they decided for Mother's Day that for every year of their life, they would make a heart sticky note that said what they loved and appreciated about me. And then they stuck them all over the house and I had to find them. But probably one of my favorites was one from Ethan because, you know, he as a 5, he's very internal. I felt like I knew him the least until we started doing Splankna. And he said, I love how close we've gotten. You're my best friend. And I just like, thank you, Jesus. There are so many things I find myself falling to my knees, praising God and thanking him for. And when I see like the healing that he does in like my children especially, or like just growing up the way I did, and now to have a family that's completely different, where like there's all this love and like respect.
You don't fit the statistics. You shouldn't be this kind of a mom with these kind of kids. With
well,
the
it's God.
It
is God, and it is the Splankna worldview. I think the worldview that we have in Splankna is like, we understand that behaviors come from situations, and like there is probably a reason behind that. So with my kids growing up, I would be like, something's up with you. Like, you seem off. You seem angry. You seem whatever. You don't seem like yourself. And I'd say, do you want to do Splankna? And of course, because you don't want to force, you know, and they would always want to do it. And then the shift would just be like them being able to breathe again, being able to come back into themselves, you know?
Yeah, you said something that I want to touch on. So this is, I think, another common childhood trauma. See if I can put it into words, but we're dealing with toddlers. We're dealing with elementary school. They have been alive for 7 years or 3 years. And when they are acting up, when they're throwing what we would call a temper tantrum, we've been taught we're supposed to punish temper tantrums because how dare they? I got to show them who's boss. That is not okay in this house. Get your act together, right? Like, I'm the boss. You're not going to embarrass me like that. Quit crying, quit screaming, get off the floor. I want to present to you a different idea. If you were raised hearing that mentality, like temper tantrums are meant to be punished, I want to present to you, what if they're not being defiant? What if they're just struggling? What if they're really having a hard time and they have a grand total of 3 years of experience regulating their emotions and their nervous system is not developed at all in any form or fashion? So they're meant to co-regulate with you. God designed it so that sitting on mom's lap, getting a hug from her, getting rocked, getting a song sang to them, helps their entire nervous system reset to peace. But in that moment, instead of pulling them close when we notice that they're struggling, we punish them because they are screaming, because they're crying, because they fell on the ground. I think that is, if I could preach one parenting message from the rooftops, it would be that. Like, because I had the view, temper tantrums are naughty, and it's my job to teach them that they're not okay. But what if it's not naughty? What if they're just really, really struggling? And what if when I was really struggling, someone said, knock it off, suck it up, quit crying? I'd be like, what? I just need a hug. But theirs comes out in defiance. It comes out a lot of times in anger, in chucking something across the room. So you don't recognize that it's pain. You just look at it as misbehavior.
Yeah, can I say something to that? I have a few things. One, well, I'll give a story first because that's what's fresh on my mind. That's exactly what happened. Maya, when she was little, I had dropped the boys off at the library, the older boys, and I said, we're going to go home and get a snack because the other two were young enough that I knew, like, hangry, right? And so I'm like, we're not even a mile from the library. So I'm like, we're going to run home, we're going to get a snack, and then we'll go back to the library. But for some reason, Maya lost her mind, screaming. And like, I was like, Maya, we're going to go. But like, first, one of the things about it is when your kid is acting like that, it triggers something in you. You feel powerless. You could even feel bullied or feel, if you have been abused as a child, it can feel abusive towards you. So that's why we have to do our own work too when we feel we're triggered by our children, especially because we want to come to them with gentleness and be able to handle that, as much as we can. But I remember that day, by the time we got home, I was like, oh my gosh, I just want to shake her. Like she is like, it's out of control. And so like, in order for myself to calm down, I said, okay, you just need to go to your room for a few minutes and I am going to take a few minutes and then we'll reconvene kind of thing. So she went there and my husband was sick and he was in our room sleeping. And I was like, I went in there and I just like vented and blew up. And then I brought Maya down here to my office and I said, because that's the thing, what you want to do in those moments is say, what's going on? Like, but they can't articulate because they're just, but really if we could get to the root of that. And so that's what I did because I have Splankna. So I brought Maya down to my office to do Splankna with her. Well, turns out our friend Tom had recently died and he was a father of 5 kids and we were all really close. It was like Uncle Tom to the kids and he died of stomach cancer. And I remember when she found out, she was sitting there and she just like staring in like in another universe and she's going, they don't have a dad anymore, and like she just like was processing and I like got to her and I just held her and like my heart broke for her and like and I talked to her about God and stuff like that, but still she was like trying to reconcile in her mind. And then a little while later, Levi fell when we were at Qdoba and split his head open and had to get some stitches. And so anyway, from those events, she had started having nightmares from the enemy. There's 3 sources of our dreams. There's God, there's us, and there's the enemy. And these were traumatic dreams of me and my husband falling and breaking our heads open and dying.
Oh, and he combined the 2 things.
Yeah, so she was having paranoid episodes and imagining like she's going to have to lose her parent too. Like, because now that's a possibility, right? Mm-hmm. Because they lost Tom, And so so I'm sitting here with Maya and she tells me about these visions, dreams and stuff like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, Maya, I'm so sorry. So the whole time she's being tormented that she can't figure out. I mean, it's what's behind the attitude. It's what's behind these blow-ups. It had nothing to do with that.
I could be abandoned.
Yeah. And she's just like, her whole system is freaking out because she's being tortured with these ideas and these thoughts. And so, I like felt, like 2 inches tall, so small for even being upset with her because you don't know what's going on behind that attitude, like you're saying. And so like I prayed with her and stuff like that, and she stopped having those paranoid episodes. But even now, I think she needs some more work because even now she's almost 22. She's getting ready to take a mission trip. And for some reason, she's getting ready to go on a mission trip as a chaperone for high schoolers. And they're doing water filters for people and sharing the gospel. And she started having some physical symptoms, like eyelashes falling out, which is something that we've noticed ever since like a major trauma that she had even stuff like this. And I said, Maya, I feel like this is stress related. Like maybe you're more stressed about that trip than you realize. And she goes, you know what? Maybe because I keep thinking about how many flights I have to be on. Because one of the ways that the enemy would torment her is I used to travel a lot, and she would be so afraid that I wasn't going to come home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So there could very well be a deeper thing going on with your kid when they're acting up. And one thing I had to really get over and realize is that sometimes it really is just about the spilled goldfish. But to them, it's devastating.
Mm-hmm.
And who am I to say that it's not? Because I don't care about goldfish, so you shouldn't care about goldfish. You know, like it's so tempting to be like, dude, we can get you another bag of goldfish. Come on, snap out of it. But like, if they're devastated by their snack spilling all over the ground and getting smashed, it's kind of a jerk move for me to be like, well, I don't care about it, so you don't get to care about it.
Well, and
Like,
that's
just
the
hug
other
them and
thing.
say, like, I'm so sorry you lost your snack. You know, especially when with toddlers, when it feels so stinking irrational sometimes.
Well, or that's another thing, though, if depending on their personality. Like I was saying, Maya has a kind of personality where she feels so deeply. And so something like her clothes getting ruined in the dryer is going to hit her so much harder than it would like Ethan, you know? And so empathizing when they need empathy is what you're saying. And that doesn't just end with toddler life. That's one of the best things we can do for our children is, you know, the scripture says, raise up a child in the way they should go and they'll never part from it. And we know that means like raise them up in the Lord, but it also means raise them up in who they are. So figuring out who they are and if they need to sit with their sadness or if they need you to make a joke or what, you know what I mean? And each kid is different. I handled that spilled goldfish different with all 4 kids, depending on who it is.
Hey guys, I want to pause this conversation to tell you about a few things that I've been working on behind the scenes to make your experience here better. I have put together a website, lauramilliken.com, where I am trying to put everything you could ever need to go deeper into what we're doing on this podcast, Splankna, and even more about just my own personal life and what's going on. I also created a Patreon. If you've never heard of that, Patreon is a way for you to kind of get a behind-the-scenes look at the podcast. Also, a way for you to support what we're doing here at the podcast. There are different levels, but once a month, I am doing a Zoom call with my inner circle people on Patreon where we're getting together, we're praying together, encouraging each other, talking about all things Splankna or literally anything you've got going on in your life. This is our band of people coming together and supporting one another from a Christian, faith-based, inner healing Splankna perspective. On that website, I also have an opportunity for you to look into training with the Splankna Institute. You don't have to have any kind of specific background for you to go into training. I was a nurse before I got trained, and it will give you all the information there. But if you do decide that you are going to go get trained, if the Lord speaks that to you and puts it on your heart, I want to encourage you to use the code PODCAST when you sign up for training to get a discount on that training fee. And lastly, if you are looking for a practitioner, maybe you've been listening to these episodes and you're like, okay, I'm ready. I want to try my own session, but you don't have anyone near you. You can't find a practitioner in your city. I want you to know there are virtually trained practitioners. Not all, but some practitioners do virtual sessions and they can meet with you anywhere in the world. And I have created a list for you of featured practitioners that I know in real life. I've sat with them over lunch. They are amazing people with sincere hearts for the Lord. And all of their contact information is going to be found on my website at lauramilliken.com. Yeah, and as always, the hour is going by so fast, but I wanted to also hear your thoughts on one thing I feel like comes up in my sessions a lot is people who sit down and they talk about their childhood and they're like, I mean, nothing really bad happened in my childhood. Like you said, it's not the obvious traumas, but then they start to explain the dynamic between their siblings, their mom and dad. And what it sounds like to me is there's just this general feeling in the house that I am annoying to everybody. Nobody wants me here. And sometimes I see that in, you know, you go out and about to the grocery store or whatever, and you just, and as a mom, we get exasperated. We are overwhelmed. We're tired. We are overstimulated, touched out. And when we say things to our kids like, oh, come on, let's go. Or everything has this tone behind it of like, oh, you're so annoying. Like that, for one, affects a kid for sure. But like you think of it, even if I spoke to you that way as an adult, you would be like, I don't want to hang out with Laura. Like, it's tense around her. She does not like me.
Yeah.
You're going to want to create space.
That's the thing I was going to say. Remember I said there was a lot of things I wanted to say, and this is something I'm very passionate about. We do not treat children with respect, but we demand respect from them.
Thank you. Yes,
and it drives me nuts because you, like you said earlier, you would never say that to another adult. If another adult was crying or like having a meltdown, you wouldn't be like, get your crap together. We don't have time for this. You know what I mean? We would never do that. And it's driven me crazy. And like I remember Levi was a trumpet player in middle school and high school, first part of high school. And anyway, he forgot his trumpet one time in his whole middle school career. And I'm not going to say his name, his teacher had said, if you forget your trumpet or you, whatever, just show up to class, it'll be okay. Well, it wasn't okay. He shamed him in front of everyone. He like made this big deal about it. And afterwards I was like, okay, buddy, so what did you learn from that experience? Right? And what he learned was like, if I mess up, it's the end of the world. It ruins everything and I can't trust anybody. And like, there's no way that if another teacher had forgot something that he's asked them to bring, he would treat them like that. So why treat this kid like this? And it's so damaging, you know? And so it's like that treating others how you want to be treated should apply to children too. We shouldn't be treating kids so disrespectfully and then demanding respect. Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't calculate.
So bent out of shape when they don't talk. Yeah, they're going to emulate the way we speak to them. They're going to emulate that back to us.
Yeah, and children need grace, just like adults need grace. When I was pregnant with Maya, I took an infant massage class. I actually became an infant massage instructor. Okay, and one of the things that infant massage taught me was this idea of like sometimes you're going to be giving them a massage and they're going to cry. And when it's okay, let them cry and just comfort them and just say, I know, honey, because and I know this as my history in massage therapy, as you work a certain area of the body, there's stuff that is stored there and it works out. So my regular clients would cry sometimes through a massage. And so letting that and learning how to do that and like, thinking about like, if you're having a bad day, do you want somebody to put you in your room and put you in solitude, or do you want them to come alongside you and just hold you and comfort you, right? And that's kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier too. Like that day I needed to send Maya to her room for a few minutes so that I could get myself regulated so then I could then comfort her, right? And that's okay, but you don't just teach them that every time they do something wrong, they have to be, that's another lie they can believe. Like every time, if I do something wrong, I'm going to lose relationship. I'm going to be sent to my room to be alone. It's because I'm bad, you know? And so this is the thing that we can do different is speaking truth to our kids all the time. Like when my kids would get in trouble to where they did have to like spend some time in their room, because if you can't, like I said, natural consequences. You can't be around the family because you're being mean to everybody right now. So you're going to need some time alone to figure that out. That's a natural consequence. But I'm like, but you owe me an apology because I have waited all day to spend some time with you. Like this whole day I've been thinking, I get to cuddle Levi or Maya when they get home and we're going to, you know, and I said, and now I have to be deprived of your time. And I remember the first time I said that to one of them, they were shocked. But it made them realize like, I want to be with you. I'm not sending you to your room because I've had enough of you. I'm sending you to your room because this is where you need some time to reflect on how to behave in the family environment. But I'm not happy about this. I want you here with us.
Yeah.
You know?
So good. Yeah. So if you're listening to this episode, you might just be like in a beginning part of your journey of you kind of had a rough childhood. You didn't have parents that showed you a lot of empathy. This is all new ground for you, and you're kind of having to learn it and craft it for the first time in your family line. I want you to give yourself so much grace. This is years and years. The stuff we're talking about took me many books, classes, conversations, and years to learn. I would encourage you, just like Heather said, go get your own counseling work done. Counseling will give you new tools that you just don't have yet, that you probably should have gotten as a kid, but you didn't. But you can go get them as an adult. Do your own Splankna work to help regulate your own nervous system, take down that threat you feel when a toddler challenges you. If a toddler can have the power to completely uproot all of your emotions on a regular basis, you need something. Mm-hmm. You're the adult. You can get to a place with the Lord where you are so healed that a toddler can bring almost anything to you and you can stay connected. You can stay calm. You can stay grounded. And then I just want to encourage you, you don't have to be a perfect parent. You're going to mess up. You're going to lose your temper. I still lose my temper or say something a little too sharp to my kids. And you probably didn't have this growing up if this is your story, but just learn to apologize to your kid. It's so humbling. It's so embarrassing. But just be like, hey, I shouldn't have said that to you. What I wanted you to hear was this. Mm-hmm. Hey, can you forgive me for blank? Because you're also teaching them how to repair a relationship when there's been a break, which is a really helpful tool to have when they're grown up and married and have friendships and all the things. So even when you're not perfect, you don't beat yourself up, because you can also just show them how to repair well.
One time, real quick, the Lord said to me in one of those moments, he said, being a good parent is not an absence of these moments, it's what you do with it. So the apology, the repair, because then they get to see you fail and restore. And then that gives them a basis for that too. So don't think you have to be perfect to be a good parent.
Yeah. I just think the world is hard enough. It's school, peers is rough enough. Like, how beautiful as the parent to be their safe place instead of one of their bullies. Mm-hmm. You know, like, I don't ever want to be a person my kids have to try to survive. Yeah, in this world, because we know the world has enough of those people. So, when does your book? How, like, is this just beginning? Are we?
It's been in my head for a long time, but yes, now it feels a lot more like doable, and I'm ready to start writing, like pulling what I've already written together and like figuring out how I'm going to structure it. So yeah, I'm hoping to really get started on it, like this year, like in the next month or so.
Okay. So we'll keep you posted as the audience when that comes out.
Yeah.
Heather, thank you so much. I could keep talking forever. This is such an important topic to, I think, both of us. I love talking about this so much. I wish I could go back to my 23-year-old self and say all this stuff, but it's kind of the beauty of the process of learning as well. So, yeah, thanks for being here, and we will see you guys next week with a brand new episode.
Thank you.